What is good, everyone? A-Rock Oakley back for another video, and this is a new one. We're going to be doing a meta snapshot. We're just going to talk about this. I was talking with a good friend of mine, Felomir, and one thing we kind of kept talking about, like, what is the meta going to look like, and what does Beatle and Milan kind of bring to us? And I think that this is, an amazing opportunity to see where the meta goes. The link to this article is going to be in this description below, so make sure to go check it out. And also, comment down below what decks you think are going to be the breakout decks from these events and for set 4 meta. We're going to go over some of these decks, and um, I'm going to give some hot takes on a few things that I could see happening. So obviously we have Django Tarkentown, and I just grabbed some random lists from SWDB here. Django Tarkentown, I think, is going to be the mainstay of all the decks that we see, and I think that it does a lot for probably too much for right now. So, which is nuts, but deck is beatable in a lot of ways. I just think it gained gaining IG 2000, War Juggernaut, and Devastator. I think is absolutely dumb, and uh, not to mention the other early ships that it can play and early cards that it can play that can do a lot of make math awkward for your opponent. So Django was definitely one of the biggest winners from Jump to Lightspeed, and you have to be able to tech around this. And then the next deck that we talked about would be obviously Han Cunning, Han Good Stuff. Really only gained Ahsoka and Commandeer as cards, but and maybe it can run Jam Communications if it wants, but I think already has a pretty solid discard package through Bodhi, through Spark, through Kira and Ahsoka. So and Cunning itself can be a perfectly timed version of it. So the thing with these two decks is that what they have against the rest of the meta is that they don't have to tech against the rest of the meta. Everyone has to tech against them, so they don't lose points when they make changes. Like most of the changes that they make still makes them good. And so they're never like, oh, if I tech for this matchup, I just plummet my points in this other matchup. That doesn't happen for Django and Han right now. And I personally think we could, if they are as strong as they could be, I think DJ. And I also think that we could maybe even see TDR on the ban list. That's probably my biggest hot take of the day. That I think that could do a lot to change the meta some. But yeah, I would definitely be. You have to be aware of these two decks and make sure you understand um, what they're doing and how to beat them. Now we go on to decks like Quinlan Tarkentown. I think is a very safe option right now. Plays into a lot of decks. Sometimes feels like it is has some slower draws, and that's I think what keeps it back because it doesn't have the biggest top end. So if a deck goes bigger than it and it just can't recover, that's probably where it loses. But if it does get under and and uses its discard package well, this is a very scary deck and has probably one of the more impactful flip turns with Quinlan coming out and being able to force throw stuff and just put your opponent on the back foot. Can run handful of shielded units to keep pushing little chip damage here and there, and yeah, very strong deck that you have to be aware of. I think this gives Han some troubles, but maybe has some troubles into Django. I think it needs to be a really well-timed Spark or Kira to make sure you get rid of the TDRs to make it harder for them to play. But yeah, uh, might struggle into stuff, but has a good matchup into Piet, which is the other deck we would talk about, as well as a newcomer that's coming in. Very big, does good things, has great removal, probably the best overwhelming barrage deck, can play the Turbo Laser Salve as well. So you're looking at, I feel like and Quinlan and Piet being two amazing options here. As I just don't. It's hard to think that any of these just straight up counter these other two decks, but yeah. And then your aggro deck, your Sabini CL, I think is always going to be a player. Josh talked about it as well. That you kind of need to be aware of this. But what it struggles into is Quinlan or Django early Tarkin Town plays and restore. So if it can't turn the corner and decks can go bigger, it'll be tough. So always have to be on the lookout for Sabine. Now another newcomer is going to be Boba 4. We have this cunning list uses triple dark raid, tons of burn, tons of indirect damage that just pushes a lot, and you get to leverage pretty much Boba's ability every single turn to set up really strong plays. When you flip Boba, it's essentially a small overwhelming barrage. You're playing triple dark raid, so you don't really have to worry about it because on 6 resources, you can triple dark raid into Devastator and then play Boba onto a ship, and it's like nothing really survives that. But I do think that when decks start to tech against Django, I think that it improves their matchup into this deck. And if decks start to understand where they just go with bigger HP units and they can soak a lot of this damage, this deck tends to fall behind. Now, this might be one of the best decks into Django, which I think is very good because Django has a lot of low HP units that, just don't soak as well as you'd like. So I think that that does give us this deck a lot of play, and it's playing in very strong colors and aggression and cunning and villainy. So it's good. I definitely think this will be around, but I think that this deck feels a little bit more solvable, and so you're not stressing too much when you play into this. I feel like so yeah. Once you kind of understand how to do the math, it requires a lot of math. So check your work on this one. Now, a couple decks that I think are very strong, and Velamir agrees, is we got Anakin Blue as your hero mid-range, go big, lots of removal, has some disruption between Governor, Force Throw, and Pillage, and then Colossus allows Anakin to just climb to insane numbers. Absolutely insane numbers. We're talking like he could be swinging himself for 10 is what we talk about here, which is just kind of nutty to see. And you don't even need a lightsaber to do that. And then playing stuff like Crate Dragon and being able to kind of just play removal with the restore package is really nice. You get good sentinels. You just do good things with this deck. So do not sleep on this. Understand how to play into it. Recognize what sentinels you may see, both on the ground and in space, and then don't check your math on this one as well, because Anakin can blow you out. So a couple other decks that um, uh, Felomir mentions is we'll see like double blue villainy. I think could be very good. Being able to play a heavy removal package and vigilance could be nice. Gar Saxon with Nabat or just Gar Saxon cunning is threatening as far as a strong Django counter because it has lots of shields. Now Security Complex has also gone up on the rise between Poe and Kaz. I think Poe Security Complex might be better than the Poe ECL because I think Sabine ECL is just still better than in as an ECL deck. Um, and these security complex decks can do really good. So make sure you check this out. And then obviously Palpatine, if the aggro decks are staying low, we can definitely see some Palpatines. Um, Now I have 4 decks that I think are quite good. We have Felomir's picks in Gar, Poe. I didn't pull any lists for this, sorry about that, but I'm sure you can find them on SWODB. But one deck that I think is actually super fun is the Rex Unity of Purpose deck. That I think this is one of the fastest decks. If this goes ramp into Unity of Purpose, it's kind of insane the numbers that it can do and how quick it can close a game and just present a board that is really hard to deal with and has great sentinels, has some restore units. Very, very fun and cool deck to watch in action. So don't sleep on this because it will blow you out. It absolutely will blow you out. Um, yeah, very cool. Seeing a leader and a base not commonly played put in some work. Now I think one of the best ECL decks right now is Han 2 ECL. I'm pretty biased here just because I played this a lot in previous sets, but I think the additions of Blue Leader, Poe Dameron, New Poe, and the black one, BB-8, have felt amazing. Now, I say this because Blue Leader, this is you can bring this out on 4 resources, and Ambush has a 5/3, which can take out Sabines, can take out DJs, can take out Techs for 4 resources. So even if you do get DJ'd, you can still do this, which is kind of nuts, and take that unit out. Now, um, if not, it's a great threat. It's a great turn 2 play. It's a great turn 1 play if you need to just kind of like Cloud Rider in space. But being able to Poe Dameron is really strong, where we can make a 4/5 on 3 resources in space and demand an answer, which I think is sick. Now, BB-8 and Poe Dameron from set 2 is insane, because now that can represent 16 damage. Maybe if you don't have the cards for it, it can represent 14 damage. So we can want to have a decent amount of spaceships and ships and vehicles to put this in. Gorilla Attack Pod being one of them. Heavy still being an insane card. So yeah, I'm pretty biased to this list, but I am very excited to see this as probably one of the strongest ECL lists in the uh, in the meta, and because it has a very strong game into Han Cunning. You're able to go wide. You're able to make sure that they're never going tap tap buff. They're pretty much having to tap tap bounce, and they might not be able to continue to apply pressure with their units in that way. So very strong list. I am biased, so take that with as you will. Another deck that I would encourage people to look at is Cad Bane Target Town. This list is not optimized, but I think the Jabba package with Commandeer and playing a bunch of tricks can be really good. You can really leverage now. There are 2 of them. There's a lot of great units to hit to play off of that, whether that's new Boba, Bosk, obviously Zuckuss, playing into now there are 2 of them to get your Jabba going, to find your Commandeers so that you can lock things down is also really good. There's a lot of cards that this gained through Mist Hunters to Zagarian Starhoppers. I think Bazine is also super strong right now, being able to rip stuff out of their hand, and a well-timed Bazine can definitely win you games. IG 2000 to help clean up units. Cad Bane probably needs to be as a 3 of, and you can just win games with this card as well. So I think that this is a great deck. It definitely improved its Django matchup, but still needs a strong pilot to close out the Han matchups and other matchups that can be cumbersome. And last but not least is Wedge. I love this deck, and I will always love this deck. So I am such a huge fan. But if I could, I'd be playing Thermal Oscillator into Django and Tarkin Town into the rest of the meta. So since it's only one matchup, you kind of have to lose out on that. But this isn't an unwinnable matchup. I think the most important cards into a lot of decks right now are your 2 events that you play between Rebel Assault and For Cause I Believe in. So if you're a big Wedge person, these are your best cards, and especially into Django. And if you see them, you're very much in that game. So draw good. I think that's the best advice I have. So yeah, again, like I said, let me know down below what decks you think are going to really impact this meta. I think that this is a wonderful start. I tune into the coverage. Seattle is going to be amazing. We're going to see a lot of insanely good players, and we're going to see some spice, because a lot of people are, in their own metas trying to solve this and solve, the Django and Han problem. So maybe some teams have figured it out, and we see some really good spice, and it allows us to kind of shape the decks that we've all been working on going forward. I think Milan is we're going to see a lot of European control, as we always do, and I think it's going to be another good, different look at where the meta is going. So it'll be fun to take both of the Seattle numbers and the Milan numbers and start working from there. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and may the force be with you. Stay awesome.